Hello everybody, it's Kara from Old Book Garden, and today I'm here with a spoiler-free review for Hearts of Briarwall by Krista Jensen. I received this copy in exchange for an honest review from the publisher, so thank you so much. And as I said, this is going to be a spoiler-free review. I will list content warnings in the description box, so please check that out if you would like that information. Hearts of Briarwall comes out on August 2nd, and this is a proper romance, meaning there are no explicit scenes, and it is set at the turn of the century, so Edwardian England, I believe. And our two main characters are Spencer Hayes and Lydia Wooding. Spencer is a school friend of Lydia's brother Andrew, and they're kind of reconnecting after a long time, and Spencer is looking to get investors for a business idea he has that is connected to automobiles. But Andrew wants nothing to do with them for reasons that we find out in the book, and Lydia is very, very passionate about them and very excited about them, so her and Spencer kind of connect over this, and they end up spending a lot more time together and getting to like each other even more, but there are reasons that a romance between them would be complicated, and Spencer is also hiding some secrets about his past and his family that could also put their relationship in jeopardy. And Lydia, meanwhile, is really struggling to get her brother and other people to see her as an adult. We also see her spend a lot of time with some friends of hers who call themselves the Wendy League, after Wendy from Peter Pan, and like based on this idea of like flying, you know, taking flight, which I really liked. In terms of the main characters, I did like Spencer and Lydia. Like, I didn't love them, but I enjoyed them well enough. I did like the fact too that Spencer is kind of the overly romantic one. Like, he's the one who kind of falls in love like very quickly and easily, and he has to kind of guard against that. I feel like that's not something we tend to see in male characters a lot, so I enjoyed that. And I did like Lydia, as I said. I really felt for her, like the way that people's perceptions of her could be so unfair and so confining for her. So I did really feel for her, and I did really love Lydia's friendship with the other girls like Flory and Ruby and Violet. I overall really liked their dynamic, especially Ruby and Violet I really enjoyed. And like just as characters, but also their friendship with Lydia. I really like this feeling of Lydia having this group of women to like rely on, like the way all of them rely on each other and like draw strength from each other. They have fun together. I just really liked that. And I also really loved this Wendy League that they have, the way it has such a breadth of focus. So they talk about like the suffrage movement. They all are interested in that. They talk about like automobiles, specifically Lydia is really passionate about that, and I think Violet as well, one of the other girls is. They talk about like their romantic relationships, if there are any. They talk about charity work, like all of these things that concern them. And I really like that the book doesn't feel the need to like justify or like over explain why it is not contradictory to care about all of these things. Like, I just really appreciated that. And in terms of Spencer and Lydia's romance, I liked some individual scenes with them. As a whole though, I wanted more from their relationship. It felt like, I don't know if it was that their interest in each other started too early, or I can't really put my finger on what about it didn't work for me. It just felt kind of flat, apart from a few specific scenes with them that I think they had really good chemistry in. Like there's a couple times where they're alone together, like sometimes unexpectedly, and the way that tension was written was really, really good. So I think they had some great scenes together, and I just wanted to see more of that chemistry throughout the book. I think part of it too is that the dialogue and like banter in general in this book was lacking for me. Like there were some conversations I enjoyed, there were some like good lines and everything, but as a whole I think the banter was one of the things that felt kind of forced and flat to me. And that was in terms of Spencer and Lydia's romance, and also like the friendships and other relationships. Like the dialogue it felt kind of like it was trying too hard to be like punchy or interesting, which I didn't love. Like there's this scene near the very beginning where they go on a hunt to try and find a clock key, and it just felt so awkwardly like shoehorned into the story. And maybe if it had happened later in the book, or if it had been written differently, I might have enjoyed it, because that is one of the first times that we see like Spencer and Lydia kind of working together, but it just was not fun. Like it just again felt very forced, and I feel like some of the characterization also felt very forced, even stuff relating to the friendships between the women, which, as I said, I did love that aspect of this book, but some of the writing around that felt like it was again trying too hard. Like I feel like sometimes the book would tell us, like try and remind us in narration how important these girls were to each other, or how much fun they had together, rather than just showing us that, because they did have great scenes together. It's like I already understood this without it being explained to me, you know? And then kind of in the plus minus column, Lydia's relationship with her brother Andrew, I had mixed feelings about. And I think some of that makes sense because their relationship is kind of fraught right now because of like the way Andrew is trying to get her to grow up to be like a proper lady for, you know, like he wants to take care of her, but he also is not really listening to what Lydia needs and what she wants and what makes her happy. There's like a couple of decisions in particular where I'm like, how did you ever think this was a good idea? So while it makes sense that Lydia and Andrew would be at odds and they would have kind of mixed feelings about each other sometimes, I think that some of it can't be explained by that. Like some of it, again, it felt like it was due to something being missing from the writing and from the characterization. Then kind of the final category of things I want to talk about is like little things in terms of page time in the book. So any one of these is not that big of a deal, but like having all of them together, and especially after I wasn't loving other aspects of the book, these kind of were extra annoyances or extra inconsistencies, extra things that felt jarring that I didn't love. So for example, the entire Sir Lawrence plotline, there were parts of that that just felt very like unnecessary and irritating to me because it was very like typical, but I don't think this book needed that for the story to work or to be interesting. Also, when we eventually find out more about Spencer's, like the secrets he's keeping, I think like some of the way that was handled just did not feel consistent to me. Like it is very serious and very dangerous, and we are told that and shown that, but then it's also kind of not walked back exactly, but then we get more information about it, and I'm like, how was this not even worse than it ended up being, you know? And then also the way that some of the character stuff around that was handled, I had issues with. I feel like there were some fond memories there that were, it was a little too fond for me, honestly, considering what happened. I was also not a big fan of the way the suffrage angle was talked about sometimes. And this is not a case where it's like, oh, this is unrealistic or anything. It was realistic, but it just didn't match up with, I feel like, what we were supposed to feel about the characters. Like one of Andrew and Spencer's first conversations, for example, includes a kind of dig at the suffragettes and like laughing at them and how funny and ridiculous it is, which not a great first impression of the main, like the male lead or of the female lead's brother. But then like it kind of seems like maybe that's not really how Spencer feels. But then when he's asked about why he supports women being able to drive motor cars, he has kind of like a multiple reasons for it. But the major point is that it's inevitable, so we might as well like welcome them into the industry, which like is true, and I'm sure that's realistic, but I don't feel like he gets as much credit as Lydia wants to give him for that. Like I feel like we had to go either one direction or the other. Like either Spencer started out not thinking much of the suffrage movement and then he like really worked on his like prejudices and assumptions, although this is kind of a short book to do all of that in. Like either we should have done that or we should have had him be like less antagonistic about it from the beginning. Because even at the end, it's like he is supportive, but he's not as fully supportive as I feel like we're supposed to think he is, if that makes sense. And then the other thing, this is just a tiny point, but the way that like the American heiresses are like, there's a couple of them that are referenced or thrown into the book, and the way they're treated just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. Like the way that one of them treated Spencer was obviously bad, but the way it's all talked about, I didn't love, especially in the context of a book where like it was widely expected that young ladies were supposed to try and do this, like supposed to try and marry well. Like Lydia is obviously fighting against that, and a lot of women were fighting against that. But in terms of societal expectations, that's kind of what people assumed you would be doing. And it rubbed me the wrong way that because it was a wealthy American heiress, that was considered like tacky or horrible. I also wondered too, like this is something I notice sometimes, is I feel like maybe when some American authors, I think Krista Jensen is American as far as I know, when they are writing historical fiction set in England, they kind of feel like they have to overcompensate for the fact that they're American by like throwing in little details like that. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I sometimes notice that. But that was like a very tiny point. This is just like, again, one of those things that was one of the little things that bugged me. So as you can see, I had some mixed feelings on this book. There were things I enjoyed about it, but also things that I thought weren't very well done and that frustrated me. I did read it very quickly though. This was very engaging. Like I was engaged enough in this story and these characters and their relationships to read this fairly quickly. Of the books in this line though, this proper romance line, which are, you know, by different authors, some of them are mysteries, some of them are like more straight up romances, different eras, all of that. This is not one of my favorites. I'll actually link a few of the other reviews I've done for books in this line that I did really enjoy. So like personally, this is not a favorite for me. I gave Hearts of Briarwall 3 stars, but I think if you are especially interested in like this historical context, especially like the motor car aspect, or if the romance tropes maybe appeal to you, like this like best friend's brother kind of thing, or like I said, I did enjoy things about it, especially like the female friend group, I might be interested in reading her friends' books, because I'm assuming that there's going to be a series and we're going to follow some of their friends' relationships. So I really enjoyed some aspects of this book. It just wasn't like a complete hit for me. So yeah, please comment down below. Let me know if you guys are planning to read this book, or if you're interested in it, or maybe you've already read it, what you thought of it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!